Okay, we are continuing to look at pre-release versions of functions in the function repository, preparatory to the function repository going live hopefully next week, although you can already find all this stuff on the web. All right, so we have this handy function that is randomly generating entries from the function repository. Do I have to rerun this? Hey, we got background noise. Could you please mute yourself? Okay, so let's start off with these here. N variational bound. What's clear Y got to do with that thing? Well, I mean, that's just okay. Fine. Okay. Does this have a C also to anything else that is useful at all? I mean, this should surely have C alsos to built-in functions. Anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Do we have Danny?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, is there an obvious list of things, of system functions you should list to?
What's this? That's a bad link.
The old standard package.
Yeah, we're getting rid of this. So that's a bad link.
Okay. So we should not link to those.
Okay, there's a lot of links like that.
Fair
Well,
point.
We should link to things in the function repository there. Okay.
Yeah, I think I made a utility to auto-generate these definition notebooks from the standard package functions. And
what are we doing with these tutorials, which are probably not completely useless?
I think this is the source of a lot of the examples, right? Like these should just go in the respective.
I know, but there's more stuff here.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we try to sweep all of it into the function repository. This is one of those cases where you're pushing to have it in, and it is a possibly more natural fit for a Packlet repo.
It's not. Nobody will use it there.
I mean, so you say, but
nobody was going to use it there. Just as they haven't used it in the packages.
Okay.
So
when you have a tutorial, though, tutorial is not really appropriate for single functions.
I understand that. So we need another mechanism for those.
Yes. I mean, this isn't the time.
We know perfectly well that we're going to have something which is a way of aggregating functions here. I mean,
right.
So this is one of the things that should be possible for an aggregation of functions. And after all, all we have to do is to link. Once we've got a place to put this tutorial or tech note, then we just got to have those function repository entries linked to it, and then we're golden. We don't have to have this in any other structure.
So you're basically inventing a halfway measure between function and Packlet repos right now, which is okay if that's what you want to do.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that there's this is a level of metadata, and possibly this goes in the notebook archive. I mean, this thing could be simply in the notebook archive as a, I don't know what category it would go into, but it's something that refers to the function repository. Because people are going to want to do that.
That does make sense. I mean, it could be like a computational essay type thing.
I would think so. And it happens to have this nice form here. I mean, this was very old book type form that we did this. And it's probably not the right way to do it in modern times. All right, let's move on in terms of this random.
It'll fit right in with the notebook archive, though.
To have that there, yeah.
Yeah.
It will. So, I mean, all we have to do is to point from the function repository to the notebook archive. I mean, the main point is, we are counting on the fact that none of these things is going to rot. So in other words, if you point to the notebook archive, it's going to be there. It's going to be pointing to something meaningful. Okay, random part choice. Choose random parts of an expression. Okay. It's amusing. Okay. What cause degree I'm not even going to look at because we've looked at several of that kind. The date of the Jewish New Year. Okay. Is there any other way to do that? I mean, isn't that date next? And this should, isn't that next date of something, comma, calendar Jewish type thing? Isn't that right?
I'll look at the source notebook. Maybe that's all it is. Even if it's a one-liner, it's still a nice function.
And I'm sure I checked with Nick before I assigned this to Igor.
Okay.
And I think he mentioned that this might be useful. So.
Okay. All right. But it should certainly link to next date. Could somebody do that?
Yeah.
Impressively useful when scheduling our tech conferences, I should say.
It would also be nice if it returned a date object instead
It should
of a list.
return a date object. That's wrong. It should return a date object. No question. It should return a date object.
I can make that change. It's a simple fix.
Are there any similar functions around?
Isn't there a
Orthodox
Easter? Orthodox Easter, yes.
Okay. So let's fix those.
Okay.
Graphics bounds. Is that in a plot range form? And by the way, that's not the right font there, is it?
This is a good example of something that would be extended if it was top level.
Yes, that is true. I mean, honestly, this is kind of sloppy that it doesn't, I mean, does it work with things poking out and so on? Probably not. But now, this should have in its author notes something about, I mean, it either does or doesn't work when things poke out, if you understand what I mean. Like if I guess it probably does work here. It doesn't work with text, I bet. It should also say in here that it uses the plot range convention, right, for the bounds, assuming it does. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's implemented, but we can check that.
Okay, multivariate mean definition.
It's not a very inspiring example set.
No, but I also didn't even understand what it does. Okay, I'm really surprised this isn't a built-in thing, but whatever, seems fine. What are we going to do when these functions become built-in? Are we just going to have this page say it's now built in, it's deprecated?
Yep, I think that's all. We just put a flag on the page. And we can make it stop showing up in search results or something, but it'll still be there and work.
Yeah, well, I mean, the search results should presumably, here's a point about the search results. It should put the function repository on top, but it should have other search results there as well, I think. Are we doing that right now?
No.
We should do that, because otherwise, when things deprecate from here, people are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm confused."
Yeah, and we could really easily get up just search all Wolfram sites link also, but including them below is the best. Would be a good thing to do. Yeah.
Let's try to do that. Can we, Bradley? Is that for you?
I've got that note.
Yeah, we'll investigate it. But yeah, the easy thing we can do easily in the meantime.
Yeah.
We did this one yesterday. Yeah.
Yep.
You're not deduped between the 2 days.
Multi-set inclusion. I don't understand why that's called multi-set.
If you have 2 of the identical values in the second set and only 1 in the first, it'll give false.
Oh, okay, fine. Again, oh wow. Wait a minute. When you say the C also is here, these are function repository things. They shouldn't just be blue links, should they?
if they were blobs, it would look ugly.
I know, but I think they should be a different color. Because what is it going to look like if
we do have two different sections. One for related symbols, which is Wolfram language symbols, and this is only C also
Maybe,
is.
Yeah, maybe we just need a different header on the section. Instead of C also, it should say related functions or related resources.
It does seem like if there are no related symbols, it looks at a glance that these are system symbols you're linking to. So
right,
yeah,
that's an issue.
Yeah, I think if we came up with the right section heading, it would clarify it.
So why don't we say related function repository entries?
We could say related resource objects because I think you can cross-link to other repositories, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Look, I think we should
also in Wolfram repositories.
But what's it going to look like if it's linking to like the data repository? It's going to have something with a very different style there because those are long multi-word things, right? It's not going to look right. I don't think those should be in the same block because I think it'll look stupid. I think this should say
we could put the icons for the repository to the left a little bit as like different sections.
Put them each functions. Put them each on its own line with the little dingbat to the left of the line.
Yeah, why not?
There you go.
That's a good idea.
See also, and then
indent the actual content there a little bit and put the icon.
Why don't we say related items or something like that? So it doesn't say because people
related are so resources is what we call it in the notebook. In the definition of the book, we call it related resources. We should call that here too.
Fine, related resources. All right. How about a color change?
And then multi-line, and I guess we could make them orange like the repository, but that'll be Garrett. No. Yeah.
Do we need a designer to join us here? But why don't we?
We can bring it up with design in a different way.
Okay. Why don't we tealify them? I mean, that's what we're doing elsewhere. We're turning them from the blue to this teal color when they're external things. I think that's what I would suggest here.
So kind of like how standard packaged links look in the current documentation, right?
Exactly. Yes. And then I agree with you. Let's put the icon for the repository before it. Seems fine to me. Okay, now what are we calling the one that is a link to the system functions?
Related symbols.
Okay, that's fine. But then this one should have a related symbols going to, I mean, look, the fact that these things don't have related symbols, we've seen very few of those. We really should do a pass and just add a bunch of them, not least to give people examples of what they should be.
Right. I think a good set of our internal curation happened before the notebook had that field. So you're right. We need to do a full pass and add those.
Fine. I just go dig in, just add a bunch. ASAP, preferably before we release here. The cardinality, does this define what that means? Well, it should say what this means. I don't even know what it means. It would be nice to say what it means. Okay, and you could throw that back to Bob and ask him to do that. Just put in something in details and options that just gives the definition of multiset cardinality, which I'm not really, I am understanding, but get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay, got some comments on the live stream. Brian is asking, when a function moves from the repository to built-in, will the source to the function still be available? Interesting question. I don't see why we shouldn't have it as an archived page, but see, the only thing that could go wrong there, I mean, the built-in will probably be a little different than the thing that's in the repository.
Yeah.
It'd probably be very different.
We'll probably put a bunch of error handling and edge cases and stuff.
Right. And it will probably be quite unreadable, unfortunately. The code, once it becomes production grade code, tends to be rather unreadable. So I think the right thing to do is to archive the function repository entry. And I think maybe what that suggests is that the header should say this is an archived entry and the function is now, like what's an example of how where there's an obsoleted message in What's something that's obsoleted?
Like combinatorica stuff.
What's an example of one of those?
Or just like date. There was an old date, right? Before date object.
I don't know what we're going to find here. That has a symbol? That's weird. What's that doing? That seems very wrong. Whatever that is, it seems wrong. Wow. Okay. I had no idea. Wow, cool. It's a pity it's not used in any of the examples. Well, what do you know? Okay. Well, I don't know where I've never used this stuff. This is bad. I should use this. This is cool. Okay, in any case, there's a banner here that says it's been obsoleted. And we might as well just archive the rest of the page in that case. But we should make a note that that's what we're planning to do, because we haven't yet got a pattern of how to obsolete things here. Steve on the live stream is saying it's called function repository, but in the notebook, it's resource function. Yeah. Try spin show in the cloud. It's probably not going to work very well. Is spin show something from here? Let's try it. Is this utterly grotesque in the cloud?
I don't think we've verified it in the cloud.
It's kind of amusing. The fact that it doesn't have the that it kind of has a tidal change in this in that bar is a bit unfortunate.
We could call it wobble suggestions.
We could, but that would be silly. Okay, let's look at that. Oops, that's not the right cloud.
So the difference between resource function and function repository is that the repository is actually our curated collection of functions, but resource function can also refer to your own that you have written and cloud deployed to your own
that's
account.
A good point. Well, that's pretty dead. That's not very exciting.
Well, got the show part.
Well, that looks like a bug for the cloud team.
Yeah.
No idea what the issue is there.
I bet it's a dynamic on one of the...
yeah, I'm sure it's a dynamic that for some reason it's not triggering in the cloud, although the cloud has a pretty hard time doing that because it's going to have to make a server call every time. Okay, bit string null space. Why is somebody doing it this way? That's just crazy, if I might say so.
Oh, force of habit.
It must be a very old habit.
Yeah.
Like 30 years old, at least.
Probably.
Okay, well, find 0, 1 null vectors. Okay. First of all, this needs separators, right? This is going to fail the heuristic for too long a set of examples without separators, right?
Yep. I'm sure it's in dequay list.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm not thrilled with the examples, but there doesn't seem anything obviously wrong with this null space with matrix. But wait, where's the matrix?
The matrix is given as a list of integers. Each integer is to be regarded as a row vector.
Okay, if I might say so, this should just say zeros, ones. I see. Okay, well, that's kind of cool, actually. Okay, how about, why isn't this pointing to all those bit functions? all the bit, bit XOR bit.
Well, it should have bit XOR, I suppose. I'm surprised I didn't put that in, but
well, anyway,
I guess I didn't.
Okay, let's add it. Okay, session information. That's amusing. Are we sure we don't want to make that return a data set by default?
I think I made that an argument of it.
Doesn't seem harmful. Seems like a reasonable thing, although I see that's kind of interesting. Seems interesting. All right, let's go generate the next thing. Dun, dun, dun. I should do more than 10 here. Clausen CL. My gosh, why aren't these built in? Well, because probably they're not very good. See, again, it will be really good to have something which is an explanation of why these aren't built in, because there's probably something wrong with them. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And also, this is related to the polylog function, and it doesn't say that, and we really need that. Make sense?
Which function did you say?
Polylog.
Okay.
Magnificent. Oh, okay. I thought Zeckendorf had 2 Fs. Apparently not. Nice. Okay, create resource notebook. That sounds relevant.
This is actually an example. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Right. So, we made this before create notebook worked on function resource.
I don't think this should be there, should it?
Well, it allows us to get ahead of version releases. So we can, update this whenever a new resource type is available as a packlet, and then, but create notebook is only updated on versions.
So people in 11.3 can use this because they can't do create notebook function resource. So this is an
then you should say this. You should say that. And by the way, that isn't true anymore. But you should say that somewhere here. I mean, I think you've got to yeah. You just got to say why. Create a definite. You got to explain why it's not the same as create notebook, and you've also got to link to create notebook. Make sense?
Yep.
Now, in the case of Clausen CL, I mean, that's a case where having a backlink from Polylog would be really nice. What is the status of our backlink story?
From built-in to the repository?
Yes.
Starting to work on that now.
Okay. All right, a couple of comments from the live stream. Ethan is saying his favorite resource function is dynamic map. Yeah, that did seem, if I remember what that one is, and let's just take a look at it.
I'm a big fan of this one too.
Yeah.
This is a very useful function, I agree. And unfortunately, the general version of this needs to be done for just a whole range of functions. I mean, this is a more general thing. I mean, this is a version of this would be a good thing to think about doing. Essentially, this is one can imagine this as a wrapper for many functions. I mean, it's similar to monitor.
But it would automatically set up the stuff it's monitoring for you, which would be nice.
Yes, except that it has to look inside the function to be able to do that.
Yeah. But you can make it work for like table, do, scan, all that stuff.
No, I agree. Sushma, we should add that to the ILD list if it isn't already there.
Okay.
Also a question from Bello. Are good contributions to the function repository going to be highlighted somehow like community posts? We hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Earning badges in the community for being featured in the function repository. I hope so.
There's a dedicated topic in the community for the thing. For the function.
By the way, am I mentioning that in the blog? I don't think I am, and I probably should.
Yeah.
Somebody.
I'll send that now.
Did Jessica add it to the feedback notebook?
Mm-hmm.
Should for binary link to the OAIS entry if it's applicable? Yeah, why not? I mean, it's all a question of what. I mean, if people send these things in, then they can get added. And, particularly people send them in. I mean, do we have the tools? If people send in the edited source notebook, we have the diffing tools to figure out what's going on, don't we?
We have something that's okay. It could always be better.
All right, let's continue here. Image split compare. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Okay. Let me live a bit dangerously and try this in the cloud. Where did I have my cloud notebook up here? There we go. That is being changed, right? That wording is being changed.
Yes. New ones are already changed. I still need to go through and fix all the old ones.
Okay, let me see if this has even a hope of working. That did not look promising. Growl. Okay, so what are we doing with respect to that? Oh my gosh, look what just happened. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's really scary. Well, that's a cloud bug to be reported. But in terms of testing, well, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's very useful. Obviously there are multiple. This is ridiculous. This thing going up and down. Okay, forget that.
I hope my next submission gets published. It's one that basically called Bob. I wanted to have one called Bob, and all it does is make something bob up and down. It does that all over the notebook.
That's funny. That's okay, but here, look, we got several bugs here. So we've got this absolutely bizarre bug that the thing is destroyed by copying. Sounds very much like one of those quantum processes.
So you did copy and not cut, right?
I did copy. I'll try it again just to prove it to you. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, let's do a copy. Command C.
I guess we have this recorded, so someone from the cloud team could just watch the video.
Yeah, they could just watch it. Okay. And then it doesn't work. Now, are we going to put something in here that says it doesn't work in the cloud?
We can. The question of if it's a cloud notebook bug that we assume will be fixed at some point versus if it's something that we know isn't intended to work in cloud because it uses Java or something, then, in the second case, we certainly need to do that. And if not in the details and options, then somewhere.
Or in the requirements.
Right. In the first case.
So the requirements would say it needs desktop.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Okay. What was the answer to the question of? But by the way, do we yet have examples of Python wrapper functions here?
I think we have a couple in the submission queue, but nothing published yet.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
Check if a word is a verb. In English, I assume. Might say that it's in English. Minor suggestion, say it's in English. Ferrer's diagram. Didn't we look at this already?
Yeah, I think you did the local cache again on that first cell. I think that overwrote your the existing information of what you already looked at.
Oh, that's annoying. I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Pop. Remove and return an element of an expression.
Right, so it modifies a list in place and returns.
It's a super obscure example where it says X equals something which has an X in it. And then you pop X and you get Z. Come on, we could call this list at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd certainly be better that way, but that's the level of policing that we're usually not going down to for the function repository.
Fair enough. Okay.
I'm not thrilled with this function. I wasn't on the review of it.
What's your issue?
Well, it
doesn't suggest that it has a side effect in its name.
There's that, and there's also the suggestion that it might be Lisp-like with Lisp-like efficiency in working with lists, emulating linked lists, and it's not any of that.
Well, okay, the main issue is, would you expect, based on the name, that it would have a side effect?
Yes, if I was thinking pop is in the Lisp pop, push and pop, then I would.
It has an awfully short name.
That's another problem. I would prefer something like Lisp pop or Lisp-like pop, or who knows.
But pop is not a Lisp specific construction. There's many. Anytime you have a linked list data type, then you're going to see pop as pop.
Sure, it originates with Lisp.
I'm not sure it does, but might do. It might do. I'm trying to think my history. I mean, Lisp was very early, 1958. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was. But I'm a little bit confused about the relationship between car and cutter. I mean, we don't have car and cutter, do we? Do we not have function?
No, that's the thing. This isn't a linked list. I mean, we could do them using, Rick did a really nice business with expert bags, and we could certainly emulate them with what he has. I've done that actually, but.
All right, so what do we want to do with this?
I don't know.
I mean, I hope we don't have push as well, because push, I would not want that name to be hanging out there meaning something like this.
Would that make more sense as pop from if it's editing the list? I think that's an in-language convention we use.
It is, yeah. You're right.
That would be a better name, yeah. I still don't like it.
Brian on the live stream is suggesting pop tail, but we don't really talk about tails particularly. And then there's probably something.
Yeah, we use rest, I guess, instead of tail.
Right. I agree that pop from is much better than pop. And pop from has the feature that at least it's not as likely to get mixed up with something else.
This is the sort of thing we emulate, in this one of these wheels getting reinvented constantly, and we always do it with list nesting. The way it's done here, it's almost certainly going to be an insert or append and prepend and then whatever equals rest of whatever.
That's what it is.
Extract and delete. Oh, that's just wonderful. So it's got all the wrong efficiency. Yeah, I'm not thrilled.
Well, first thing is pop from. Okay, why don't you take up this issue with its author? But I think pop from is, if it's going to survive, it should be pop from.
True.
But that's wrong as well. Remove and return. I mean, it should make it clear that it's a side effect thing. Look, I think the let me make another comment. I mean, another thing that we probably need to tag here is when there is, we need to at least know when these things have side effects. I guess anytime there's attributes hold first, it's a sign that it might have, call by whatever that is, reference or something.
Reference, yeah.
Something like call by reference.
Name, call by name, reference.
We have a much more bizarre semantics. So classification.
It's an emulation of call by reference.
Aside from naming conventions, do we have an indicator of that for the language?
No. Other than the fact, no, except that we always comment on it.
Do we have that comment for append to? Or auto increment or whatever we call plus plus?
Well, okay, so. And reset S to the result. So at least it makes it clear that that's what's going to happen.
Yep. That's.
Yeah, I mean, those documentation make it pretty clear.
Yep.
I think pop from is the best we can do there, and I think we should just do that. Okay, challenges data. That's amusing. We need some new challenges. Have we been adding these? By the way, what on earth happened to that formatting?
This is one of the first ones.
There's a few super old notebooks that we got to regenerate, but I'll take care of that. Okay.
So if I were to take, if I were to get that, so you're saying here, where did I go with that? Let me actually, I'm just curious whether this will work. If I go to, here, I've got one of these. So is this going to require cloud authentication or not?
No, I think it'll work without it and just give you like the publicly available information, but you can get like profile information if you're cloud connected.
This is rather slow. What is it doing? Is it reading some data bin or something? Okay, that's kind of annoying. What was that?
That I'm not sure.
Is there a specific name or something that has, emojis? I see that error sometimes when there's.
Oh, I think I know what it is.
Like emojis and JSON data or something.
It's doing URL execute with the raw JSON format, and that doesn't like some Unicode characters, which I know are in some challenges now. So I'll fix that.
Okay. Why would this not have been picked up in regression testing here? Because surely we look for messages in the regression tests.
Well, I mean, it could be content that's changed in the actual data.
I see. Okay, fine. How often are we running the tests? Do you know?
I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Okay. Which team is doing the testing? Is it the kernel QA team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The framework testing is part of the daily test runs, and then the content testing plan is not completely hammered out yet.
But we definitely need to be running those regression tests
on
a repeated basis, and we better be running them. Before we release, we better make sure we've run all the regression tests.
Yep.
Okay. We need to, hopefully at the summer school, we will come up with some more challenges. Okay. Let's go back over here. File, download, response, generate HTTP response that prompts the browser to download as a given file name. What?
So this can be like the result of an API function, so that if you visit it in your browser, it won't show it in the window, the browser window. It'll download it as a data file or etc.
I understand. So it's like wrapping it, but I don't understand how this does that.
You just use this instead of using HTTP response.
And so you can deploy this or what? I don't understand.
Yeah,
right. You can deploy this, or it can be the output of an API function or a form function.
Like you can have an API where you ask for a specific file and your code gets the data. And
right, this is supposed to be something which is available at the system level.
I mean,
something where go ahead. Where you
really just you can do it with HTTP response, but you just have to manually set the header.
I understand, but the whole point here is to be able to say, I want a downloadable notebook, not a cloud notebook to come out from this URL, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good function. This should be a built-in thing, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with this.
I imagine it will be at some point.
Okay, but Sushma, what is our process for getting these reviewed for being built in? Because this one, for example, should go to the cloud team, to Joel and those guys.
We don't have a process yet, but I can think about it a little bit.
Well, I think
I did send that to them at one point. I'm not sure
if I know there's some browser dependencies. There are some that will just reject your headers and won't work. So it's not going to be perfectly robust everywhere.
Okay. Well, so fine. But I mean, what do you think our review process should be? So, I mean, that's why these author notes will be useful, because then it will say what's wrong with this thing. See what I'm saying? So that we have some idea how difficult it is to actually make it more system level and robust. I mean, it seems to me that there are things here which we should consider. Okay, there's various states. We're never going to promote it. It's something that, we have the framework to promote it, but this is not robust enough. And it's something where it will be promoted, but only as part of some new framework. Make sense? So it seems to me that it would be worthwhile for us to maintain at least internal tagging of what we want to do with these things with respect to that. So this is an example of something which probably isn't robust enough. It isn't. Okay, actually, there are two initial states. One is that the design is not good enough, and the other is there's some problem with the implementation. I mean, well, I guess essentially none of these implementations are going to be good enough.
Yeah, they'd need a lot more work. But this is the type of thing that should probably, if it gets put in the system, it should just be built in as HTTP response functionality.
Yes, it probably should be, right? But so even that note, even the author note saying that would be useful, because then when we look at it, we say, what's going on with this? Oh, you look at the author note, it says this isn't, this doesn't work in all browsers, and it should one day be part of HTTP response. That will be very useful to have, and I don't see any reason not to expose that to the world. Make sense to people?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put that author note in here, and then it will get exposed.
Although when I made this, I wasn't aware of the fact it wouldn't work in all browsers.
Okay, well, that's
I mean, probably modern, popular ones that are running on Chromium is probably all going to work. And
yeah, but I mean, that's something to determine, right? It's not
right.
Even the statement "we don't know if it works in all of them" is a reasonable thing to put there, because what's happening here, this is something where somebody can come back from the community, for example, and say, yes, it does work, or no, here's a fix, or whatever else. From Camel Case. Okay. Fine. That is really weird. You can't do that.
Yeah, a symbol as an option, that should be rejected.
You can't do that. That should be automatically rejected. Who is paying attention to what the automatic, what these, Rick, is that for you, or is that somebody else now who's going to add those kinds of rules?
We have a rule for that now. If this was submitted today, it would have been caught.
But this is a thing that we manually look for, like automatically identifying. I guess we could
just automatically identify options. Just look at options of this thing. Look, this is easy. I mean, what we would be wanting to do here is to say, I mean, it will already be shocking at this level, right? If we say options of this thing, there you go. Bzz, bad.
But there's I'd have to figure out a list of what symbols should or shouldn't be.
Right. You could just see if they have definitions, if they have down values or home values, or then flag it.
No, Wolfram language data will tell you whether it's an option.
Oh, will it? Okay, there you go.
I think so.
Oh.
That would be really useful.
If it doesn't, it should, but I'm pretty sure it does. Names of options taken by the symbol. Well, it should tell you.
If not, I could just generate a list of known symbols used as options.
Exactly.
If it's not in that list, just have it as a suggestion saying, you sure you meant to use this? And explain why.
And looks like to lowercase is a built-in function.
Indeed it is, yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay. Okay.
Right. You could have stringized it and it's okay, but having the same thing is frowned upon, but not
it's iffy, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, but the symbol is, this needs to be updated or
okay, fine.
Destroyed.
So let's so then I think we just say quotes lowercase after this and quotes uppercase after this to get the lowercase form, the uppercase form, or whatever, however you want to do it. But this needs to be fixed.
Okay.
Some comments on this live stream. It's funny. Okay. Resource function of resource submissions. Let's take a look there.
Oh, that's one of mine.
Does it not work?
I don't know. Last time I tried, you'll be on the company. Yeah, so you get a bunch of stuff from other repositories. No one else should see any of that because you're on the company publisher ID. Other people just get something like this, but probably only with 2 or 3. Yeah, since you're sharing a publisher ID with a bunch of internal people, you get a bunch.
Okay.
There's Bob.
I'm over here too.
No. Wait a minute. Where's somebody? There's a function called Bob.
Yeah.
Okay. Why can't I click on something to actually see the submission notebook here?
Well, there's a whole suite of internal tools for that aren't for this meeting.
Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, D8 is saying, from camel case is useful, I also want to string split it. Yeah, well, you can either use string split or it's possible we should have a function that says, I mean, camel casing is decamel casing is a mess. I wouldn't make it an option because I think the use cases are different. But camel casing is truly decamel casing is a heuristic mess, which is why it's not built in. We tried to do this as a built-in thing, but it's full of weird so and so names and so on. Let's see. This is a general comment, but I'll look at it about iconize. Oops, what on earth is this? Okay, I see. Oh, what happened here? What happened here? This didn't. Okay, so the basic point is plot, sin x, tab, sin x. This is a good point. This is an interesting point. X0 to 10 or something, new line, whatever. Okay, now let's iconize this. I don't think we've thought of this issue. And then we uniconize that. Well, that worked okay. But if we iconize the whole thing, and then we uniconize, it doesn't. Okay, that's a very good point. Not thought about that. This is not the right meeting to discuss that. But Sushma, if you can feed that, I guess, to John.
Yes, I know who.
So
Yeah.
far. Right. It's a good point. Wow. Sander is getting something about two expression invalid syntax before doc type whatever. See, the problem with these things is always, these are not going to be as good. These functions are not going to be as good, but I don't know exactly what that's happening with the challenges site, perhaps. Do you think it makes sense to add resource functions that are sample applications and neural nets in the repo? We are ahead of you on that. Yes, that is actually. Where are those examples? Where are those things? Where are the
Megan? The ones Megan is working on?
Yes.
I don't think she's done it yet.
What do you mean?
I don't think she's submitted it yet. Well, she's trying to make large single functions that handle classes of things. I don't know. She's not here. I don't want to speak for her. I'm not sure.
Okay, but I mean the basic idea there is that in the neural net repository there are often packaging and depackaging functions that are quite complicated, and we're trying to put those in the function repository, which will make the examples much cleaner. Even though those functions are pretty obscure because they are, package this data for use in this weird neural net.
Bob, didn't you submit one like that?
I have one that we're keeping as provisional because I think it might be superseded by Megan's, but we can certainly look at it.
What does it mean, provisional? What are you talking about?
We have this provisional status for things that.
But are they there? That means they have less.
They work, but they're not shown on any of the pages. They're not in the search results. And
they have a stripe. Wow.
Yeah.
So if you know about it, you can use it. But
if you know about it, you can use it. Yeah. Sometimes we do this for things that require future functionality that, like 12.1 or an unreleased backlit or something. Yeah.
Okay.
So
we already had a function that did colorization.
Maybe we do. Yeah. I made this, and then Megan said, I think we're going to do a bunch of them. So I made it provisional so that we have one that's not neural net based.
I thought it was neural net based. Now, I would check that, but it doesn't really matter. But this shows the example, shows the principle, and that's
right.
What I think Carl is looking for there. Key exists queue. The argument failed. Sander, you should tell us what you're actually.
I think he's doing that resource submission one that worked for you. It's not working for him.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's something.
Perhaps I have a permissions bug in my code or something.
Yes. Okay, let's keep going here. Chaos game we actually had looked at because of the generalized chaos game. Cell information. Didn't we already look at that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Desaturate, except we looked at that. Astro distance is new. I mean, in the sense we haven't looked at it yet. That's kind of cool. That's cool. I mean, we'll eventually have this as a built-in thing, but that's nice to see. Why is it so fuzzy here?
We are working on that.
Yeah, I actually have a branch that solves a lot of that stuff.
Okay, so if I say here, Mars to, I'm just checking that this works, Betelgeuse, if I know how to spell it. Oh, very cool. That's really cool. Well, okay, fine. I mean, let's go on playing. I have no idea what any of these things are. Huh. What do you know? I guess Sirius is close to us. I didn't know Betelgeuse was so far away. Okay. Nice. Multivariate trim mean, I think that's in that same family as those other things. Yep. When not. The opposite of when? There's a certain... Okay. Yep. Test of a file exists. Fair enough. I don't think I need to look at that. I think I understand what that's doing. Boy, okay, we got in the tally collection here. List input field. Make multiple input fields that update elements in the same list. I don't even understand that. Oh, I see.
Oh, this is good for constructing forms, I guess. Like,
yep,
custom ones.
Okay, let's keep going. Closed cell groups. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. So, for example, if I go here, I didn't know we only picked up in those things. I see it. That's the way it has to work. Ooh, what just happened there? Why didn't that close all my cell groups?
It has a set of defaults that are, I think, like title, no, like section, subsection. I can't remember off the top of my head. But you can tell it certain styles if you want to override that. Yeah, I didn't generalize it that much.
It'd be nice to have that one.
Yeah.
But if you just throw a section in somewhere, you'll see.
Well, why don't I just say input? Cool. That's really cool.
And there's an open cell groups if you want to get them back.
Where? Oh, the function, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, no, I just wanted to see it, and that's very cool. What is the return value here?
It's just the cell objects of what it found and closed. And it's
a nice function.
Keyed by the styles that they have.
Yeah, this is nice. Okay. And limit. That's an old function, which has been almost in the system for like 25 years. Yeah. Okay. Another multivariate weird thing. We looked at this before, right?
Got it.
Why isn't this called, why is it called partition, not integer partition or whatever?
Danny?
I don't know offhand.
Well, I don't think this is harmful.
Yeah, it's one of these, to me, obscure combinatoric or related functions.
Okay. Monge. Poor Mr. Monge. He's been reduced to a single eponymous function. Is that really the only meaningful? Why is it called Monge point here? When
it probably should have been named Monge point rather than Monge.
Well, and the 6 midplanes apparently. So for some reason, this doesn't seem right to me.
That would be a heck of a music group, Monge point and the 6 midplanes. A jazz septet.
I have their first LP on vinyl.
Okay.
I'm not surprised, Rick.
So first of all, does it actually take a tetrahedron? It should. It would be. Why don't we tell Ed that? Why don't we ask him to change this? What should it do? At least, it's very weird that it. Well, look, it's one of these things where it's a fairly specialized thing, and you probably do want both cases all the time. I think it would more naturally return an association. Carl points out that in Wikipedia there's lots of Monge-related things.
Yes.
I think this is not a winner. I think it should say Monge point, and
yes,
it should somehow have a separate way. It should have a second argument that allows it to return the hyperplanes.
Or you could have.
We could call it Monge point and planes.
Or you could have a Monge points and a Monge hyperplanes, separate functions.
Well, I don't know
No,
what's involved in computing it.
it's probably all the same computation. We might as well just do it in one go.
Oh my
Monge
gosh.
information, Monge data.
That's a little weird. Actually, it's not. Those are independently computed. It should be two separate functions, Monge points and Monge hyperplanes. And do you think midplanes should be a spelling word?
What does that phrase mean? I'm unfamiliar.
Well, I assume it's the equivalent of a midpoint. It's the midplane in 3D between 2 points, I would assume.
Okay.
Okay, so first point is, can you report that, Sushma, or I can send it into spelling?
No, I can do that.
Why don't you do it and ask them if they agree? Second point, I think this should be broken into Monge points and Monge planes.
Okay.
Okay, so can that be sent back to Ed for?
Yep.
What the heck is this? It says it's contributed by me. Oh, it probably came out of some NKS. Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
the head positions for Turing machines. Just because I contributed it doesn't mean it's right. Did somebody look at this? It looks reasonable, actually. Okay, Japanese text tokenizer. My gosh. Wow, that's cool. Wow. Okay, whose is this?
That's mine.
Rick?
That has to be Rick.
I
Yeah.
didn't know you were into Japanese. Then there's probably a lot I don't know.
He's been turning Japanese since the Talking Heads came out with the idea.
Again, a reference to popular culture that I can't.
I got that one.
I don't think it was.
I'm sure you have that on vinyl.
No, I actually don't have any vinyl. Surprise.
Okay, find the inflection points of a function of one variable.
We looked at this last time. There was a Packlet issue that I needed to correct.
Okay. All right, let's keep going a bit. Let's have a. By the way, why is my okay? It's a pity we messed up that uniqueifier, because I'm surprised that we've had as many birthdays, so to speak, as of seeing things a second time. Amusing, harmless and amusing. That's nice.
Sort of related to the that maximum values one of that was
It is.
of yours.
And we should link those. We should link those. Magic square. That is an obvious thing, but a good idea. But this is a random magic square, isn't it? What on earth is this? Is it a random magic square? Let's find out. I am totally confused. Help me out mathematically. Is it not the case that there's just a huge number of magic squares of a given size?
I have no idea, but for 3 by 3, they might all be close relatives. If there's a canonicalization. What's the implementation code for it?
Yeah, and also, by the way, this example, yeah, but by the way, this needs more separators in it. This is grotesque and pointless, in my opinion. That's just really, I mean, I just don't understand why that has to be so, well. If you're going to do that, at least, do the courtesy of iconizing the thing. Again, are we going to give these pieces of feedback to the authors, or how is this working?
I think Sushma's just going to fix everything.
No, these are things that Enrique submitted from demonstrations, and I do see that we need to change the contributed by to say Wolfram staff based on the work by so and so person. But I can send it to Enrique.
Yeah, I mean, you just look.
Yeah.
This is no good. I mean, basically, these examples, anytime there's an example that's more than about 2 lines long, you got to be suspicious. I mean, I would have hoped that he could do better than that in February of this year when we've already had all these things defined. Okay, separators are wrong, example is crazy. Plus, if this is a random magic square, then please let's call it random magic square and let's randomize it.
Yep.
Okay.
We have to check the code for that.
What the heck?
Okay. Definitely not random. This must have the code must have been taken right out of the demonstration, though, I would think.
This seems like a sloppy job. Why don't we ask Eric Weinstein or somebody what the story is with this? He would know instantly.
Okay.
Also looks like yeah, not very exciting code. I mean, it's good functionality. We definitely want something that does, but I think random magic square seems to make more sense to me, unless there's a good reason to not do that.
It might be tricky to generate them at random. I'll say that.
It might be, yes, and who knows what the measure is. So that might not be possible. So that means then that the documentation should say it is a magic square of size whatever.
Right.
Which is perfectly okay. I mean, it's just like we get.
Yeah, it's a question to bring up to Eric. He will know.
That looks like an aerial photograph of some random piece of brushland.
Oh, that's a work of beauty.
It is kind of interesting. Okay.
I get a lot of use out of these guys, gals, whatever.
Fair enough. Cool. Don't we want to say it's anything about genomes in here? I mean, does this work on anything other than...
It is intended for genomes. I've adapted them for text, but not here. Okay. Not in this function. It is strictly genome based.
Okay. Well, it's cool. And I hope we can link that from, I mean, it does link to genome data. That's good. It could probably also link to FASTA, the file format.
True.
Position largest. We really don't otherwise have this. It has no contributor. I think this might have come from me, but maybe not.
Isn't this the sample notebook?
Oh, it could be. Is it right? I mean, it seems reasonable. Okay.
I think this one was deliberately kept simple, so it could be used as a sample.
Trace loading.
This is useful. I use this all the time. For
Fair
debugging, initialization, things like that.
Is it the right phrase, trace loading, or should it be called monitor loading? Or
it's like trace print.
I see. Okay.
Maybe it should be trace print loading.
Trace loading print? I don't think so. It doesn't. Trace loading is fine.
Yeah.
There are a lot of nice things in here. This is all good. Okay, largest prime factor. Easy but useful. And arguably that should be a built-in thing.
It's sort of a one-liner, though.
I mean, reverse sort is a one-liner, but that's built in.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not a one-liner because of
it's implemented
tie breaking.
Yeah, the tie breaking, exactly.
Okay, this is nice.
This is a weird one.
Oh, God. Why is Ed incapable of making the first example simple? Come on. Come on, come on, come on. No. No. Crazy. Look, what does he mean symbol anyway? What is this? Okay, there's something wrong here. Okay.
It does seem a little bit ornate.
Great. Great. Okay, what is this?
Oh, it's graphics 3D, I think you need. It has 3 dimensions.
Okay, this is bad. Okay, come on, we can do better than this, right? So why isn't there one of these? There's supposed to be one of these. What the heck is this? Comma quotes 2D? It says dimension there. No. Bzz, buzz. Come on. This needs to be done better. First of all, this should be broken into 2 functions. It should be
Polygon.
Polygon. It's not even a poly. Is it a polygon?
Polygon and polytope, maybe.
Well, just 3D after it. But what is it? It's
sure.
a thing. It's not a symbol. It has nothing to do with a symbol, right? Magnificent, but this is really annoyingly bad, if I might say so. I mean, that's a really dumb idea to do it that way. Okay, well, the functionality is nice. I mean, I would have thought this should be, it's more like text to polygon, isn't it?
Doesn't discretized graphics essentially do this as well?
Yeah, but this is probably producing an actual polygon. And I think this should be called text to polygon. And it should be text to polygon and text to polygon 3D. Okay? And although it isn't always text, you can put an arbitrary expression in there. Well, I don't know how arbitrary it is. I wonder what happens if I put x cubed over 1 plus x in there. Okay, well, that's because it's a function repository function, not a built-in.
But it should be clarified in the documentation what kinds of expressions it accepts.
Well, like text might be what it accepts.
Possibly so, yeah.
Say.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, and I mean, it maybe as a courtesy, it's accepting these. But okay, this let's get this fixed, please. Okay. Yes. And that's a shockingly bad first example.
Yep.
I mean, shockingly ridiculous. And again, we should have a heuristic for rooting those out. And
it's ornate.
I can add something for that. That would be a pretty simple heuristic, I think.
Fine. I reckon the first example, so let me make a heuristic suggestion. If the first example isn't apply the function to a thing and get the result, with possibly some wrappers like graphics around it, then it's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Then be suspicious. Win32 Windows title. Well, that's not going to work very well on my machine.
Right.
This one does have platform checking built in, though.
Right, the error handling's good.
Yeah, it's a graceful failure, as I recall. It stops short of reformatting your drive.
Okay.
It does do the RM minus RF, but.
Right. Okay.
Oh, these were nice. The Rob Nachbar splines contributions.
Is it consistent with our other spline functionality?
I believe so.
It doesn't.
I'm not positive.
It doesn't refer to it, and it should. The symbols for splines.
Yeah.
You know, here's another heuristic that we could consider: is if you do a search, if you look at the name of one of the submitted functions here, you do a search in the built-in functions, and you find something with an overlapping name, at least flag that.
I've actually been working on something, a resource function that can auto-suggest keywords and symbols and related resources.
Oh, that's a very good idea.
Eventually, I'd like to have it built in.
Yeah, because I mean, there's tons of stuff here, right? Spline.
Shouldn't you have a resource function that writes resource functions before you build one that rewrites them?
I do have that, actually.
I was suspicious of that.
Are you trying to take his job away?
Sorry.
Okay. That's amusing. Nice. I wonder, are these actually correct colorblindness?
Yeah, that's a perfectly formed 7. Sorry.
Is anybody on this call red-green colorblind? Can they tell? Because I don't think this is right, because I think you have to have the same. We got echo, somebody. I don't think this is right, because if you specify both colors, you see what I'm saying? You've got to conform the colors to the same gray level. Am I making sense? Otherwise, it's trivial to tell. Could whoever's causing us to echo please put themselves on mute? Look, if I take this and I say color convert grayscale, no, this is hopeless. This is not going to work. Come on, send that back to Ed. You've got to take that second color. Did you understand what I'm saying? And get it so it's the same, I don't know what it is, luminance or something. In other words, what you do is you take that first color and you maybe turn it into HSB or something, and then you just change the hue in the direction of that second color, but not the you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes. I mean, you're saying the examples need to be changed.
No, I'm saying the function needs to be changed.
I know what you're talking about. I could either fix it myself or forward it to him.
Okay.
What happens if you just do darker green or lighter red? Presumably,
well, let's try it.
It'll come closer.
It'll come closer, but it won't be right, because unless it's the same. I mean, I think probably maybe you need to use XYZ chromaticity or something. I'm not completely sure. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about this.
Need a computational ophthalmologist to fix it.
Well, we could ask.
What's his name? Sam. Yeah, Syed.
Okay, so that's close.
It's closer. It's closer. Yeah,
but it's not right.
And you shouldn't have to know the colors that will work correctly.
Of course, and also in just why the first example here? Don't use something that has extra complexity in it. I mean, I don't know how to detect that, but obviously we don't want to use something with extra complexity.
And this could just have a one argument version that just defaults to
red green.
Yeah,
would be a good idea. What the heck is this? You don't say, Ed, but that's the wrong point to be making.
Well, maybe the point here isn't to make one that is difficult.
Well, it's a color blindness test. And I don't know why, and it's not really a color blindness diagram. It's a color blindness test.
I think diagrams are fine.
Okay.
I think Ed may want to clarify what exactly he was intending and all that.
Okay.
Spell out the examples better.
This is mine. Okay. Any objections to this one? I think this one is pretty uncontroversial. Hessian determinant. Again, doesn't look controversial to me. Okay, you know what? Put a separator line here. Come on.
Yep.
Oops.
Uh-oh, which one was that?
Echo timing.
Echo timing. I'll investigate.
Harmless. Fine and harmless. Although, doesn't it not? It's not linking to. Oh, I see. It does link to Euler equations. Great. From atomic number. Isn't that just element data of the number? Wait a second. That's not the right thing to call this. Because from atomic number suggests that it says find the element, but that's not right. Find the element string. Find the element symbol for a given atomic number. Right? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's arguably a shorthand.
Finding the element would imply an entity, right?
Yeah, it would imply the entity, which this is not doing.
I think that's right for
Okay,
the
fair
repository.
enough.
Look, if I say element data of 17, I will get the, I hope I'll get, what do I get? I get the entity chlorine, right?
Okay. So yeah, find the element string. Yeah, it would. Yeah,
find the element symbol.
Symbol. Okay.
For given as a string. Otherwise, no objection.
So echo timing, the final publishing step was never taken. I don't know if someone on the content team knows why, but it's Rick's function is finding it, but no one else would be able to find it. So it might still have some issue that needs to be cleared.
Okay. So you're telling me that if I look at, okay, by the way, space weather data, is this calling an external API? I mean, presumably we don't measure the space weather ourselves. You kind of need a satellite to do that.
Calling alpha under the hood. That's one of Jeff Bryan.
Okay. Is it decently fast?
That I don't know.
Let's see how space weather. Oh, wow. Oh, that's nice. That's pretty cool. You know, maybe we should just have a function here that tells us the number of sunspots. Since we have sunrise, sunset, and so on, we could just have sunspot count. I don't know, it's yearly sunspot number, monthly sunspot number.
Is it our sun?
What's that?
It's our sun?
The one, yes, the one that you can see out of the window.
It's very heliocentric of a function.
You know what? Wow. There's 0 sunspots today? That's really wild.
It should be noted that, and it says this in the details and options, that the sunspot number is not exactly the same thing as the number of sunspots you'd expect to see when looking at the sun. And that's not something that Jeff did. That's just a standard that's out there.
What is it if it isn't the number of sunspots you see when looking at the sun?
I don't know. It's some proportional thing, but it's not exactly a proportionality. I don't really know.
That's weird. I always thought that these plots, by the way, a minor thing, but you might ask Jeff, why doesn't he put a date list plot around this? Seems no reason not to do that.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, it's kind of weird. There has this giant essay here, but why not? That's cool. It's a cool function. I mean, I would have a slight, if we care about sunspots, I feel like sunspots are not obvious that space weather would give you sunspots, and I would argue that we could have a function called sunspots. Sunspot count.
Xander has pointed out that I'm wrong about echo timing. It does show up in search. I see no problems with it, so I feel like we should publish it.
Okay, do you want to just do it? I can find it.
Yep, I'll do it.
What is this? This is just the formatting wrapper.
Yeah, and we're going to be adding that as semi-default behavior for the main symbol, but this will still be relevant for stuff that people know will get returned.
This is pretty long in the tooth. I mean, this certificate was done for version 1 long before we had really structured data. Are we sure this is the right way? Oh boy. So this is calling another function to get the prime certificates. Well, that's kind of interesting. I've not seen that in any of these. So we're choosing to use the resource function form here rather than the function blob, right?
Yeah, and
it's a convention that's necessary when authoring two things at the same time. But we could reformat it after the fact, I suppose.
Although we do have that branch for replacing the boxes, and I think we're looking at auto updating those as well, right?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
So this probably should use function blobs here, but this is an interesting case of interdependent function repository entries.
Yeah, you would author it that way. You would want to refer to it by name, but we would clean up the examples automatically.
This feeds right into one of those subtleties you talk about in your upcoming blog.
Yeah. Does anybody know whether this is sensible? I mean, if we were doing this today, will we format these certificates in the same way, or will we have them as associations and who knows what else? Anybody know?
I do not know offhand.
Should we ask Charles or somebody? Charles or Ed or Eric? Any of those people know?
Charles probably would. The other two might. I'm not sure.
But let's just ask them. I mean, given that we're doing this, we might as well. It's not obviously silly, but I mean, it might be that in the last 30 years, there might be a better way to do it. Elan would probably know too. Could ask him. Do we even mention that this came from his stuff?
Are we sure it did? It may have been stuff that was done somewhat later.
Oh, okay. How big? I'm just curious, my own curiosity here. If I take does this get big or what does it do? Okay, this is utterly incomprehensible to me what this is doing. I mean, this is interesting because it's a proof, just like find equational proof gives a proof. Okay, let's live a bit more dangerously here. I mean, it's another example of one of our proof type outputs.
Yeah.
It's at least fast. What the heck is it doing? You have any idea?
No.
Okay.
I would venture to guess that. No, I shouldn't say. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. All right. Did you publish echo timing?
Yes. I think maybe the left margins on those actual things are being presented incorrectly on the web, which is maybe why we were holding off.
You mean these echo timing things?
Yeah, I think the horizontal alignment might be a little off compared to the notebook.
This looks like a useful function.
It is a really useful function.
Why is the label first? Is that the way that echo works?
It's the other way around.
Yeah, echo's the opposite. That's bad.
This is wrong. It should be fixed. Can you fix it? I mean, the fact is that the reason I know why this happened. This is because originally when we were designing echo, it was going to be the other way around. And Tally never went back and fixed this one.
Yeah, we can fix that.
Okay. And I think you should also call it expo rather than body if you're going to do that fix. Seems quite useful. But why does it have to say echo timing? I mean, isn't that rather ugly? Oh, I see. That's its default label.
Yeah.
Why isn't it giving something about? Well, whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, typically you would put it in the body of your code that you're debugging, and you'd have multiple with different labels. Right.
I understand that, but I mean, echo just has this single greater than greater than.
It'd be nice if the label was the hold form of what you're evaluating, shortened enough.
Sorry, say that again.
So if the label, if you don't tell it explicitly what to use, show the hold form like of what you're about to evaluate.
It could be big. I mean, I would prefer to look in a perfect world. If this was a built-in system thing, what I would do is to have a little tiny clock icon and then a greater than.
Or it could be the iconized input. That way you can open it to see like what the head is and get the whole thing if you want.
Why do you believe that the thing isn't going to blow itself up when you put it in there? I mean, it has to be the held iconized thing, right?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of unevaluated iconized stuff. I know how to make that work.
Well, that would be a nice default. Put in what you think is right.
Okay.
Okay. Do we want to try one more? I need to go in a moment, but Seth is observing that this is an interesting compliment to the opening of Wolfram Engine. Yes, not unnoticed. It is, in theory, part of a master plan. All right, very quick look here. Resource function message.
For the people on the live stream who are looking to submit resource functions, take note of this one.
It's very useful for that.
Should we mention this in the blog?
This would be a good subtlety to mention in the blog.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just put a note in here so that I remember to do that. Or could somebody send this to Jessica for the feedback notebook, and I'll be looking at that in about 2 hours.
Okay. Yes, I'll send it.
Has an awful lot of text here. Yeah, it's a complicated issue, right?
Yeah, it's basically explaining the same stuff that message does. It seemed worth having it in there though, so you don't have to look at 2 pages.
Is this in fact what a spirograph does? And I hate to ask the question, but is a spirograph a trademark?
I somehow thought we considered that, but I can't remember for sure.
I'm sure we did.
Didn't this come out of a demonstration?
Okay.
Yes, it did.
That's when I think we considered it way back when.
Fine,
but I'm not positive that we did.
No, so. Fine. I think we can assume this is okay.
Well, I'm concerned that maybe we assumed it back then and shouldn't have. I don't know. My memory isn't good enough on this.
I would have thought that could be a much less obscure function, but this is beautiful. It's all fine. We're hearing a lot of typing. Effective precision. What the heck is that?
It tries to deduce the precision of the mathematical precision of an expression, so it only goes inside math functions. If you have something like x yeah.
What does precision do for x of 1?
X of 1.0, it'll give you machine precision.
Really?
Pretty sure.
Huh. It's kind of crazy. Well, not obviously wrong, actually. It's not obviously wrong.
Agreed.
Right.
Which is why we want the effective precision function around.
Fine.
It's something we've used internally since forever.
Fair enough. Font color from background color.
This is for all the web developers out there. It just tells you whether you should use black or white font.
I understand, but it has a very weird name for that.
It could just be contrasting font color.
Yes, that would seem better. Since there's no reason to think it's background. I mean, it's just, you're right, contrasting font color.
It seems like a pretty defensive name, though.
I don't know, because it only picks black or white. Like, that name seems like it could be used for like a complementary type of color selection.
Which one? Contrasting color? Okay,
yeah.
well, I mean,
Spirograph.
Two people on our live stream are pointing out that Spirograph is trademarked. Okay.
I was just about to say the same. I
Okay.
looked it up too.
Can we make a note, please? Deal with that.
Yep.
I don't know where we say that on the page. Where will we say that on the page? Do we have an idea how that's going to work? I think we just indicate that with a trademark and put it in the details and options, probably. That makes sense to people?
I have no idea what our way of handling this is or should be.
Check with Eric, but that's what seems to me to make sense.
Yeah, check with Eric, you said?
Yeah, it may be sufficient to just make a note in the details and options that says Spirograph is a trademark.
Trademark, yeah.
Of whoever it's a trademark of.
Hasbro, I think it said.
Okay. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to put a TM there without it messing up. I mean, we might be able to say plot a spirograph. It's not plotting a spirograph. What is a spirograph? I mean, there's a spirograph set with a bunch of wheels in it. I would have thought this should be called spirograph plot or something. I think that would make a lot more sense to call this spirograph plot. Yeah, it really would make more sense to say that. Although, whether this is anything to do with the spirograph kit, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, this is a very, complex number wheels kind of thing. Anyway, spirograph plot, fix the trademark stuff, and we should be good with this. So font color from background color, we're going to leave. Is that right? Or not? Guys?
I think it's fine. We could probably sit for half an hour and come up with the perfect name, but it's fine. It's a useful function.
All right. I don't like its name very much.
Right. I don't love its name, but
whatever. It's okay.
It's not like squatting on a name that's going to be for something else. So that's why it's fine.
The spirograph demonstration very explicitly says it's trademarked, just so people know.
Okay, so that was a goof up. So we shouldn't have made that mistake.
Right.
We should understand how that mistake got made.
None of us thought to check, myself included.
Okay. Something for the checklist. And there's a good thing we could do. We could have something that goes, how would you tell, other than going to look at the big PTO database, of whether something is a trademark term? Be a good function to have. I think it's hard. I mean, isn't that what's that company called? Oh gosh, very famous company that has the PTO database. Oh, I've forgotten completely. There's some whole company, I think, whose world is about doing trademark searches. Maybe it's part of Thomson Reuters now. Who knows? Okay. String intersection queue. This one confused me, because I would have expected this to be two strings that they do the strings themselves intersect. not do they have characters that intersect. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if they have any characters in common, then they intersect.
I understand that, but I'm saying strings intersecting, it's like hello and lower. They intersect because the LO.
Right. Well, what you want, I think, is a third argument that says how the minimal intersection size to accept.
No. But I'm saying that
you want overlapping. Stephen.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's characters in common, then there's an overlap of one minimum.
Why don't you just call it common characters, Q?
That would have been better, I guess.
Maybe we should just change it since we can still.
I think the better function would be to have a minimal overlap, though, as a specification.
Or now put in a whole suite of these all with this prefix string.
Well, let's talk to him.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're suggesting in this case is that there's an n there which says that the n-grams, it's testing
Common n-gram, yeah.
It just doesn't have the right name. Intersecting is not the right name, I don't think. Because intersecting is not intersection. Well, that's a bad claim.
I think he made a string intersection that gives the common characters.
I don't think that's right.
Yeah, intersecting Q is not bad for a name. I just think the functionality itself could be slightly enhanced.
Well, but
this does what I expected.
All right. Okay. My linked strings aren't popular.
Oh no, but that would be a great different function. Linked strings queue.
Fair enough. Don't think it's the most popular function in the world, but it's kind of amusing.
I'd rather have linked strings that makes hello world. Or hello or whatever it was.
Well, that's a question of finding. It's like those games where you're supposed to, give a word, then you find a word that starts with the letter that the previous word ends with, and so on.
Right.
I'm sure we have some challenges related to that. Okay, gray code. This is okay. It's a pity that it's not really the gray code. There's many gray codes.
The layout of the examples here is sort of old. We had this idea of showing the resource object always in there early on. We should
that's
update
terrible.
That.
Yeah. This is made in the very, very old template notebook, and these are automatically converted, which they can be improved.
It would be nice if it mentioned in the details and options that this is just a gray code. It's not unique.
I could add that.
Aren't they?
No, they're not. There's multiple ways to do it. Look it up.
That's
obviously there are multiple ways because you could just rotate the digits, right? Because the only property you only have to have one property. The
Hamming distance of 1 or something as you go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of gray, you were graying out on me for a moment there.
What? Oh, really? Okay. Context module. I need to go soon, but let's just get through this batch and then we wrap. Context module. Okay. Sophisticated but sensible. Append sequence. It's amusing. Yeah, this is a useful thing. I've wanted this many times. Except that's crazy, right? Isn't it? I mean, I see. It counts from the left. Fair enough. Can we please put separators in here? Please?
Yes, that's all of these are in the list. We are going through them one by one, yes.
Okay. Don't we already have this? Isn't this named something different? Don't we have this? I mean, this is the analog of pad left, which, by the way, we should mention here. Pad left is the.
Does pad left already do this?
Maybe, but nobody would know it.
Oh no, because it takes everything to a common maximum length, I guess.
Yes, right. The default case wouldn't do that.
Right.
Okay. I mean, this is again one that could be thought of as a possible system thing. It's a Christopher function. What does it import it to? Okay. Seems useful.
I don't know how unwieldy would it be if you just remove the semicolon on the first example. Pretty unwieldy. It looks like.
I would guess it's pretty seriously unwieldy. I mean, I think if you look at this thing.
Yeah. Once you apply it, yeah, clearly.
I wonder whether, I mean, in a perfect world, maybe it should be able to have another piece in it. Well, you probably don't want that. There's probably some helper function here that does this thing to be able to plot that piece.
Sounds like a resource function.
You know what? We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff that builds on this that is part of the geograph functionality. So let's not worry about this yet. This is very nice to have something that does this. Okay, and Fourier cos transform. Fine. Tetrahedron edge angles. Really? Don't we have this as a built-in thing now?
I do not know. Solid angle?
Yeah, I would think so.
We might.
But I mean, returns the angles opposite the edges. I see. This is a tetrahedron specified in some totally wacky way. I didn't even know you could do that. I guess it's obvious you can do that. Yeah, you just specify. I see. So I see. This is a disembodied tetrahedron, right? These are all concrete tetrahedra sitting in space. See what I'm saying? With specific coordinates for their corners. This is a disembodied tetrahedron which just has edge lengths. So it's tumbling in whatever way it wants to.
Oh.
But that's an interesting case with respect to our geometry system. Because we can have a, I don't even know how you do that for a triangle. I mean, if I say triangle, three, four, five, for example, what do I get? If I say graphics of that, oh dear, what am I supposed to get here?
A triangle wants vertices. It's the disembodied versus semi-abstract. Do we have a way of specifying a triangle by the 3 edge lengths?
Yes.
We have SSS triangle.
Yeah,
okay, that's what we want. So it would be the equivalent for a tetrahedron that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, right. I wonder if there is an SSS. I mean, there isn't. That would be a nice function, I guess. It's a worthwhile function to have.
That might be the sort of thing the geometry, not the alpha related geometry stuff. Dan McDonald and others are working.
But they haven't done 3D yet.
I see.
It's only in 2D.
Yeah, it would be something they'd pick up if they do 3D.
Well, we could have a thing called side specified. No. SSS tetrahedron? I don't think so. Abstract tetrahedron or something. A suggestion. By the way, maybe in the community group, for the function repository, we should have a somewhat organized suggestions list. Because something like that, it's obviously not particularly hard to implement, but there may be people who suggest things who are not about to implement them, and that would be useful. So I don't know how that community group is being organized, but that's okay. Yeah, we're way over time. Let's just have a quick look down here. This is addictive. This is the problem. Graphics bands we already looked at. This one we already looked at. Monitor test.
Sushma, the right curly bracket on this last one is wrong. It's italics. We need to fix it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Monitor test report. That's cool. Wow. That's another Rick production.
Yeah, it's something I use all the time.
There's a bug on one of the outputs.
Oh yeah, I know what's causing that. I can fix it.
But also, this is a candidate for being a built-in thing. Why on earth isn't this a built-in thing? That would be something to feed to Raj. If he's ever seen this, has he seen it? Do you know?
I don't think so, but I can send it to him.
This seems to be mine. Is it sensible? It's okay. This needs separator lines in it. I think those didn't exist. And also, we don't need to put, the place where the printing press wasn't for the, let's not do that. Just point it to the online version. Hopefully that does point to the online version.
Okay, that is something I told them to do, but I could just have them, because citation,
I think you just grabbed it from the old material.
Yes, I mean, they started doing it from I think some demonstrations or something.
I think it's silly. I think we should consider the online version to be canonical.
We could just have it like as external link, and then
I think source metadata is good. It's just you don't need the. This is very old school. I mean, this is very much like, giving a citation like this with a publisher name and so on, and I just wouldn't bother. I would just say, this thing. By the way, it lacks an author name. Not that I particularly mind, but given the publisher name, it would seem like you should put the author name as well.
Yes, that was brought to attention today, and I said we should put the author name.
Okay, then I recommend we have the author name, the title in italics, by the way, and then just
the page numbers.
Yes, I see Bradley has to leave, and he sent a bird to say it. Everybody needs to have that. It's interesting that I do find myself typing. Is resource function? Let me just check something here. In the autocompleter, has it been properly promoted? No, it absolutely hasn't. That would be a good thing to do.
Rick had an interesting function a long time ago that registered a keyboard shortcut for resource function, similar to control equal.
He's talking about just the symbol resource function, not the.
Yeah, I'm just talking about if you were to type resource function, that's a really bad set of. Well, it seems to have been promoted. That's probably because I typed it. It should default to the top. Response form is surely not the top of this. By the way, you did see my note about Wolfie say.
Yes. Yep.
And hopefully
we'll get the design assets for that.
Yeah, Billy can provide the perfect wolf. Real to hex string. That was a very early one, wasn't it?
No. It was actually somebody had requested this on community, this kind of function, and I thought I would just add it to the repo.
Okay, I have only one objection. I think the name of the variable should be x, not n. Since it's a real number, not an integer. My suggestion.
Sushma, you make a note of that for me?
Yep.
Thanks.
I think that should be Penrose tile plot, because Penrose tile itself is a different thing. Is that, anybody agree, disagree?
I agree. I think in general, that's a good rule of thumb. If you're making graphics, you should probably add plot to it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we better wrap up. Addictive though this is, I feel, I'm a little concerned about all the things we haven't looked at, because I'm seeing that we are finding issues in about 1 out of 3, I think, of these. Now, I mean, I guess we can continue to fix them. There's no harm in that. And if we wanted to update a Penrose tile to Penrose tile plot, I guess we could pretty much silently do that, so long as the previous Penrose tile function redirects to the new one, right?
Right. We have a alt alias name thing in place where we can do that.
Okay, good. All right. Well, okay. I may need to contact some people this evening if I have questions for the blog, but Jessica will deal with that as needed. All right. Well, thanks all. This is looking really nice. And thanks to folks on the live stream for their comments. And talk to you all soon.
Birds say that.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.